When Summer came up missing, I thought the best thing I could do is turn to social media. So I put all her pictures out there on YouTube, Facebook, and everything I could, hoping that social media could help us find our daughter. And that's when the entire investigation got totally twisted around. I have 2 distant relatives that accused me of some horrific things that were definitely not true. They called TBI the second day after Summer's disappearance and told them that I'd done a horrific thing to my daughter and killed her. They put it out there on YouTube. After all these lies were spread all over social media, I started getting messages, tell them where your daughter is, let's get this over with. Just all kinds of hate stuff constantly. The worst part of all the social media lies is people were focused on us, and even the police focused on us. Instead of going out and looking for Summer, they started looking at me and my family. We lost about 75 days. As far as all those lies and stuff, none of that matters. We just want our baby home.
Well, first, let me say, I'm glad to meet you both, but very sorry for the occasion. I wish we were talking about 1,000 other things than your missing daughter, Summer. Since you've last talked to Scott and Greg, have you learned anything at all? Anything new happened? Anything from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation? Anything that we don't know?
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
First off, tell me about Summer. Candus, you're her mom. Tell me about Summer. What's she like? How did she spend her time mostly?
Playing with the toys.
Yeah. Did she like to play inside, outside?
She liked to be outside most of the time.
Yeah. You have the 3 boys, and then Summer, she was the youngest.
Yeah.
And how'd she get along with the boys?
She was boss of the boys.
She ran the ran the boys. Yeah. I kind of in watching her run around, she sure had a lot of energy. Was she one that would wander off, chase a butterfly, do something where she would look up and realize she was further away than she thought she might be?
No.
She stuck close to the house?
She stuck close to the house.
Was she a daddy's girl or a mama's girl?
She was a daddy's girl.
Daddy's girl?
Yeah.
There were some vehicles that were seen around the property that day. A red truck, for example, was seen nearby. Did that person ever come forward and identify themselves?
Never did come forward as far as we know.
Do y'all know anybody with a red truck?
No.
This is the hardest time of me and Candace's life. You lose your daughter, and then you get blamed for it, and then everybody turns on you. We had threatening phone calls daily. They threatened my job. They'd done everything they could to destroy our family. Had a stranger come up at 2 in the morning. Didn't know what he was doing there. I fired a shot over his head, and they ran down the driveway. I expected bullet holes to be coming through our house, so we had a lot of sleepless nights. It was taking a toll on me. At one point, I broke down. I lost it. I started drinking really bad, and I made some poor decisions. Once Summer was taken, CPS had to open a case for our good and for the boys' protection. So CPS thought our house was dangerous. I was being dangerous. The CPS took our boys, which I was glad at the time. I was glad that they were not here because I was scared to death for their lives. I agreed with them. My wife didn't, and she's mad at me, but it was just too dangerous. And now it's 3 months later, and there's no sign of our daughter, and we miss all our kids. We just miss them so much.
You want the boys back,
Yes, sir.
and you didn't want them to go to begin with.
Right.
You want them back now.
Yes.
Do you think it's safe for them to come back?
It's a lot safer than it was.
Yeah.
You haven't had any acts of violence against you at the house?
No.
Okay. So there's no reason in terms of acts of violence that have been perpetrated against you that would cause them to conclude that the boys would be in harm's way?
No, we just had one issue with a woman sent to our house, and we don't know. We've heard she was sent from some YouTubers, We don't know, but we called the police right away, and they took her off the property.
If they did a home study right now, if they came in and studied the home, would it meet the standard that they were looking for? Would the house be clean and uncluttered and groceries and safe as far as guns and
Yeah.
everything that Child Protective Services investigates? Would it be proper
Yeah.
for the boys?
Well,
Yeah.
there's some things they want us to work on. We need to put in a couple walls and some other things. So there's still a few things we need to work on.
But you could get that done in
Yes.
short order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody that you've had dealings with that are shady that would do something revenge-wise just to get back at you, to hurt you, that you owe money or that you had illicit dealings with in some way? We know that you've had some conflict with the law concerning drugs and different things. Is there anybody that you've gotten sideways with?
I fired a lot of guys for being on meth. And the last guy I fired a day before, I'm pretty sure, I can't prove it, but he was way out there, and I fired him. And the very next day, my daughter disappeared. And the law, TBI's been talking to him, and he's got an alibi where he was.
Is there anybody that he's been involved with that you think might be trying to get even with y'all by taking your daughter?
Not that I'm aware of.
Is there anybody that might be trying to get even with you, that would try to hurt you by taking your daughter?
I can't think of anybody.
Nobody in the drug culture, nobody owed money, nobody?
Oh.
In our area, there's people that, you know, you got these boys, and then you got these boys that you know, they're very prideful about, you know, kind of like, I guess LA, you got the Bloods and the Crips. Well, these are hillbillies. I don't know. But we don't associate with them. We don't socialize with them. We try to socialize with our church. We try to keep our kids in that church. That's our main goal. We try to stay completely far away from that kind of activity as possible.
Well, but you haven't always.
Right.
Scott asked you about the Cornbread Mafia. You got very upset when he asked you about that. Why did that upset you so much?
Because I don't even know what that is.
Never
Sorry?
heard of it.
I've never even heard of it. I don't even know what it is.
Then why would it upset you so much?
Because it sounds horrible.
Because that's not interrogating you. It's we're trying to help you find your daughter. I started this out by saying, I don't think you hurt your daughter. I'm standing up for you. I'm saying, I don't think you hurt your daughter. But I'm going to look under every rock. I'm going to go down every trail. I'm going to investigate everything. And if you want to find her, you would be right there beside me saying, right, Doc, let's turn this rock over. Let's ask this person. Let's consider this. It doesn't make sense to me that, I mean, you got up and left the interview when he asked you about that, and I didn't understand that. You want to find your daughter, obviously.
Yes.
And it puzzles me that you get so upset about that. And, you know, one theory is guilty knowledge, that you may know something you don't even know you know. You may be afraid of something that is so horrible you don't even want to think about it. And so you push it down and don't even want to think about it. But I want you to think about it. I want you to be willing to consider every possibility, because it's only when you think about the darkest possibilities that we can find answers. And the Cornbread Mafia, Scott, define that for us.
Sort of an organized crime syndicate in the South. It runs from Tennessee to Georgia. It's widespread.
Mm-hmm.
And some parts are thicker than others, but overall, it's there.
Yeah. And it's kind of a homegrown, this isn't out of New York or Miami or Chicago. This is a local syndicated mafia. There's
Yes,
a
sir.
lot of meth trafficking in it. There's a lot of all sorts of things.
Yes, sir.
And there are a lot of meth labs in that area, and this is all organized. These aren't independent.
Correct.
It's even harder to penetrate because everybody knows everybody.
Right.
That's
And there is trafficking involved in that part of the country, like every other part of the country. And so one of the theories is that someone abducted her in that regard. And I don't know that. I'm just saying you have to consider that. Scott and Greg, you interviewed this family for hours. What is your theory? What's your summation about what happened?
Well, I'll start with you right up front. I don't think either one of them killed or injured Summer. We said that up front. I will say, I also don't think that Don, and I'll hand it to you in just a second, I don't think Don has any guilty knowledge of anything, based on all the time I've spent with him. And Candus, if you don't have guilty knowledge, if you know anything, this is your kid. You need to push this out, whatever you know, because you show signs that you're hiding something.
I'm not hiding anything, though.
Well, the reason we think you're hiding something is because each time we've talked about the cornbread mafia, which you don't know about, that tears you up. You emotionally fall apart. We see signs of stress.
But I don't know anything.
Everything about your body language suggests, or it indicates to us, that you know a little more than you're telling us.
Candus, there are 2 or 3 really red flag things that make us want to know more. Not saying you did X or you did Y. There are lots of ways that things leak in your body language and your behavior, and that's what we're seeing.
Do you understand that we're saying we don't suspect you of doing something wrong?
Yes, I understand that.
It's important to me that you understand that.
Yes, I understand that.
You guys passed polygraphs. I've just the logistics of this thing. It just does not point to you. And if investigators pointing it to you, they're not doing the math. It just doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is, I think you know more than you're telling, and that may be more than you're consciously acknowledging. You may know things you don't know you know, or maybe it's too horrible to think about, but you've got to cut through that, because you do react to certain things that suggest at some level you know something more than you're giving a voice to. And it's hard for me to say, you need to tell us what you don't know. Because that's,
But if I knew, then I
I
could
know
tell
that's
you.
what I'm saying. It's like I'm telling you to say, tell me what you don't know. And you're saying, well, how can I tell you if I don't know? And I'm saying you've got to be willing to take your guards down and think through if there's anything that you're pushing out of consciousness, if there's anything that you're just not willing to acknowledge. We need your help to find your daughter. I guarantee you, when this is solved, and it's going to be solved, this isn't going to be a stranger. This is going to be somebody you know, somebody you've crossed paths with somewhere, somehow, in my opinion. It's just a matter of you're going to find it out when they're caught, or you're going to find it out because you go back through and do an inventory and figure out everything you can possibly figure out and lead us to who they are. And every day goes by, that trail gets colder and colder and colder. And if she was abducted and she's been trafficked somewhere, she can be found. I want to find that baby. I want to find that child and bring her back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The disappearance of Summer Wells.
What do you think happened?
I have no idea what happened.
What do her parents know?
In her mind, she's being interrogated.
That's not interrogating you. We're trying to help you find your daughter.
New Dr. Phil. Check your local listings.
Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.